Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Gaura Premanande Jai Vishupad Paramahamsa Pri Radhikacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Sirabhai Charan Narvanda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandi Biti Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Sri Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakti Vrinda Ki Hari Nama Sankirtana Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Thai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Sarakaya Taksurim Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhuktale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Raghunathan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitam Scha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vansakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayana Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayasabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering the service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and the loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreya Sayalokasya Dhanyam Swasthayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, that is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukham karoti vasalam pangum nagayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. We are continuing to read from Canto number 1, chapter 11, entitled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwarka. Yes. Text number 30. I think it is 36, no? Yes. Yes, 36. Yes. Okay. Udama Bhava Pishunamala Valgu Hasa Vridavaloka Nihato Madano Api Yasam Samuhya Chapam Ajahat Pramado Tamas Ta Yasyandriyam Vimatitum Kuhakair Na Shekuhu Udama Bhava Pishuna Malavalgahasa. Actually, that is, yeah. Mudama Bhava Pishuna Malavalguhasa. Veda Valoka Nihato Madano Piyasam. Sammuhya Chapam Majahat Pramadottamasta. Yasendriyam vimatitum kuhakair nashetu kuhu.
Yasyendriyam vimatitum kuhakair nashetu.
Udama bhava pishunamala valguhasa.
Udama bhava pishunamala valguhasa.
Vridha valoka nihito madano piyasam.
Vridha valoka nihato madano apiyasam.
Samuhya chapam majahat pramado tamasta.
Samuhya chapam ajahat pramadotamasta.
Yasyandriyam vimatitum kuhakair nashekuhu.
Yasyandriyam vimatitum kuhakair nashekuhu.
Mudama bhava pishunamala valguhasa.
Udama bhava pishunamala valguhasa.
Vridha valoka nihato madano piyasam.
Vridha valoka nihato madano apiyasam.
Sammuhya chapam majahat pramado tamasta.
Samuhya chapam ajahat pramadotamasta.
Yasendriyam vimatitum kuhakair nashekuhu.
Yasyandriyam vimatitum kuhakair nashekuhu. Udama bhava pishunamala valguhasa.
Udama bhava pishunamala valguhasa.
Vridha valoka nihato madano apiyasam.
Vridha valoka nihato madano piyasam.
Samuhya chapam ajahat pramadotamasta.
Samuhya chapam majahat pramado tamasta.
Yasyendriyam vimatitum kuhakair nashekuhu.
Yasyandriyam vimatitum kuhakair nashekuhu.
Udama bhava pishunama valguhasa.
Udhama bhava pishumala valguhasa.
Vindhavaloka nihato madano piyasam.
Vridhavaloka nihato madano piyasam.
Samuha chapam प्रमोदतमासता
Samhuya chapam majahat pramadottamasta.
यशेन्द्रियां निहतं कुहुकारना शेखु
Yasyandriyam vimahititum kumahkaya nashikuhu. Udama,
Udama,
very grave.
very grave.
Bhava,
Bhava,
expression.
expression.
Pishuna,
Vishuna,
exciting.
exciting.
Amala,
Amala,
spotless.
spotless.
Valguhasa,
Valguhasa,
beautiful smiling.
beautiful smiling.
Vrida,
Brida,
corner of the eye.
corner of the eye.
Avaloka,
Avaloka,
looking.
looking.
Nihataha,
Nihataha,
conquered.
conquered.
Madanaha,
Madanaha,
Cupid,
Cupid,
or Amadana,
or Amadana.
the greatly tolerant Shiva.
A great,
The greatly tolerant Shiva.
a great Shiva.
Api,
Happy,
also.
also.
Yasam,
Yasam,
whose.
whose.
Samuhya,
Samuhya,
being overpowered by.
being overpowered by.
Chapam,
Japam,
bows.
bows.
Ajahat,
Ajahat,
gave up.
gave up.
Pramada,
Pramada,
woman
woman,
who maddens.
who maddens.
Uttamaha,
Uttamaha,
of high grade.
of high grade.
Ta,
Ta,
all.
all.
Yasya,
Yasya,
whose.
whose.
Indriyam,
Indriyam,
senses.
senses.
Vimatitum,
Vimatitum,
to perturb.
to perturb.
Kuhakai,
Kuhakai,
by magical feats.
by magical feats.
Na,
Na,
never.
never.
Shekuhu,
Shekuhu
was able.
was able.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai. Although the queen's beautiful smiles and furtive glances were all spotless and exciting, and although they could conquer Cupid himself by making him give up his bow in frustration, and although even the tolerant Shiva could fall victim to them, still, despite all their magical feats and attractions, they could not agitate the senses of the Lord. Kindly repeat after me. Although the queen's beautiful smiles
Although the queen's beautiful smiles
and fruitive glances
and furtive glances
were all spotless and exciting,
were all spotless and exciting,
and although they could conquer Cupid
and although they could conquer Cupid
himself
himself
by making him give up
by making him give up
his bow in frustration,
his bow in frustration,
and although even the tolerant Shiva
and although even the tolerant Shiva
could fall victim to them,
could fall the victim to them,
still,
still,
despite all their magical feats
despite all their magical feats
and attractions,
and attractions,
they could not agitate
they could not agitate
the senses of the Lord.
the senses of the Lord.
Purport. The path of salvation, or the path going back to Godhead, always forbids the association of women, and the complete Sanatana Dharma, or Varnashrama Dharma, scheme forbids or restricts association with women. How then can one be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is addicted to more than 16,000 wives? My God. Yes. This question may be relatively raised by inquisitive persons really anxious to know about the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. And to answer such questions, the sages of Naimisharanya have discussed the transcendental character of the Lord in this and in following verses. It is clear herein that the feminine attractive features which can conquer Cupid or even the supermost tolerant Lord Shiva could not conquer the senses of the Lord. Cupid's business is to invoke mundane lust. The whole universe is moving, being agitated by Cupid's arrow. The activities of the world are being carried on by the central attraction of male and female. A male is searching after a mate to his liking, and the female is looking after a suitable male. That is the way of material stimulus. And as soon as a male is combined with a female, the material bondage of the living being is at once tightly interlocked by sex relation. And as a result of this, both the male's and female's attraction of sweet home, motherland, bodily offspring, society, and friendship, and accumulation of wealth becomes the illusory field of activities. Haribo. The illusory field of activities, and thus a false but indefatigable attraction. For the temporary material existence, which is full of miseries, is manifest. Those who are therefore on the path of salvation, for going back home, back to Godhead, are especially advised by all scriptural instruction to become free from such paraphernalia of material attraction. And that is possible only by the association of the devotees of the Lord, who are called the Mahatmas. What is Mahatma? Mahatma. Mahat, yes. Maha-atma. Mahatma means Maha-atma. Atma, yeah, great. Great Atma. You are great Atma. Yeah. Yes. Cupid throws his arrow upon the living beings to make them mad after the opposite sex, whether the party is actually beautiful or not. Cupid's provocations are going on even amongst beastly societies, who are all ugly looking in the estimation of the civilized nations. Thus, Cupid's influence is exerted even amongst the ugliest forms. And what to speak of the most perfect beauties? Lord Shiva, who is considered to be most tolerant, was also struck by Cupid's arrow, because he also became mad after the Mohini incarnation of the Lord and acknowledged himself to be defeated. Cupid, however, was himself captivated by the grave and exciting dealings of the goddesses of fortune, and he voluntarily gave up his bow and arrow in the spirit of frustration. Such was the beauty and attraction of the queens of Lord Krishna. Yet they could not disturb the transcendental senses of the Lord. This is because the Lord is all perfect, Atmarama, or self-sufficient. He does not require anyone's extraneous help for his personal satisfaction. Therefore, the queens could not satisfy the Lord by their feminine attractiveness. Could not satisfy the Lord by their feminine attractiveness. But, and this is underlined or in italics, they satisfied him by their sincere affection and service. They satisfied him by their sincere affection and service. Only by unalloyed transcendental loving service could they satisfy the Lord. And the Lord was pleased to treat them as wives in reciprocation. Thus, being satisfied by their unalloyed service only, The Lord reciprocated the service just like a devout husband. Otherwise, he had no business becoming the husband of so many wives. He is the husband of everyone, but to one who accepts him as such, he reciprocates. This unalloyed affection for the Lord is never to be compared to mundane lust. It is purely transcendental, and the grave dealings which the queens displayed in natural feminine ways were also transcendental because the feelings were expressed out of transcendental ecstasy. It is already explained in the previous verse that the Lord appeared like a mundane husband, but factually, his relation with his wives was transcendental, pure, and unconditioned by the modes of material nature. Translation again. Although the queen's beautiful smiles and furtive glances were all spotless and exciting, and although they could conquer Cupid himself by making him give up his bow in frustration, and although even the tolerant Shiva could fall victim to them, still, despite all their magical feats and attraction, they could not agitate the senses of the Lord. So this is Krishna. Krishna conquers not only one Cupid, but hundreds and thousands of Cupids, because he is fully and always completely transcendental, Atmaram, fully satisfied, and Dibyam. What is that verse? Janma karma chame Dibyam. That means, Janma means birth, birth. Karma, activity. My birth, my appearance, and my karma, my activities, they are Dibyam, transcendental. Our activities are not Dibyam. Our activities, we're trying to perform activities that are Dibyam, transcendental, but we are having this material body, and we are easily coming under the guna, modes of material nature. But Krishna has no connection. He is above these modes of material nature because he creates the modes of material nature. He's not under the influence of the modes of material nature. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is enacting these extraordinary pastimes in both Vrindavan, especially, as well as in Dwarka. And what is underlined, of course, Krishna, he is not attracted by anything material. There's only one thing that attracts Krishna. What attracts Krishna? What is the most important? What does Krishna consider most attractive?
Service, devotion.
Yes. By two things mentioned here. The queens of Vrindavan, the queens of Dwarka, the queens of Dwarka satisfied Krishna by their sincere affection and service, seva. By our affection, by our love and affection, we can satisfy Krishna. Also in Vrindavan, the gopis of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani, they satisfy Krishna by their loving exchanges, by their, Prabhupada, he called it service attitude. What is meaning of service attitude? service attitude. So, huh?
Humility.
Yes, service attitude. Attitude means mental disposition, um, natural inclination, natural desire to render service. Service attitude means the mind understands and always devotee means a sincere devotee. Uh, Sincere devotee means humble devotee because he knows that Krishna can only be satisfied by how nicely we engage in his service without personal motivation. Ahaitukiya pratihata yagatma suprasidati. So all of the dealings of Krishna, both in Vrindavan as well as in Dwarka, were on the level of spontaneous service. That means that if we want to be pleasing to Krishna, we should also develop this mood, this mentality, service mentality. Service mentality is very attractive. Um, when we see someone who likes to serve, many devotees they don't like to serve. That means they don't yet understand that Krishna becomes attractive or becomes attracted to those devotees who like to serve. Then Krishna, he will give his kripa, his mercy. Krishna will give his blessings. So if we want to attract, what blessings? Blessings so that we can advance in Krishna consciousness, and blessings so that one day we will become qualified to go back to
Godhead.
Godhead. Where is Godhead?
Goloka.
Goloka. Where is Goloka? Where's Goloka? There or there? It's everywhere. Goloka actually is beyond the material cosmic manifestation. But although Goloka is beyond the material world, that Goloka can also become manifest, can experience. We can experience Goloka even in this world. Because in Goloka, what is the main activity in Goloka? Seva. Jiver Swarup Hoy Krishna Nitya Das. Das. Everyone is Nitya Das. Nitya means?
Every time.
Yes, every time. That is called eternal. Eternal. Nitya Das. We are not Nitya Das. Sometimes we are Das, sometimes not Das. But the perfect devotee, the pure devotee, the Nitya Siddha, they are always eager. They are eager. Eager means they like, they want to do seva. They become mad, positive mad, good mad, to do seva. And those who are negative mad, they don't like to do seva. They are diseased. So temple is a place where actually Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, is manifest because the Lord is here, present. And whoever is doing seva, then that means he is doing the same activity like in Goloka. So that means even now, even in this material world, we can begin to practice to live like the residents in Goloka, in the spiritual world. And if the more we do this, the more we are concentrating, the more we are fixed in doing seva for the pleasure of Krishna, then that will become our first nature. That will become natural for us. That means that if we do this for especially a long time, then when we will leave this body, one day we have to leave this body, then because of our nice training, because of our mentality, because of our mental disposition, because of our service attitude we have developed, then from this body to the spiritual body, very easy, very easy. Even now it can begin to develop spiritual body. Spiritual body is inside this body. We are that, the Atma actually is the spiritual body. So when we utilize our senses to serve Krishna, we are gradually developing spiritual body. And one day we will just only have spiritual body, don't need any more this material body that gets cold and a running nose and so many very long list of problems. All those problems, they don't exist in Vaikuntha. Why? What is meaning of Vaikuntha? Vaikuntha. Kunta means?
Anxiety.
Huh?
Anxiety.
Anxiety. Akunta. And Vai means no. No anxiety. No problem. This material world is kunta. Anxiety, full of anxiety. From the moment we get up in the morning, why have to get up in the morning? In the winter time, of course, here it is. If you go to Canada, then more difficult to get up because more cold. Africa, I think more easy.
More easy.
I think in Africa everything is nice, no?
This time, it's cold also.
Also cold, huh?
Yeah, it's cold.
Yes. Everywhere in the material world, it is a place of dukkhalayam shasvatam. Dukkha, miseries. We have to wear so heavy clothes, hat. Yeah. So that means that the queens of Dwarka, they were all, they were attracting the Lord not simply because they were all very beautiful, but because they had this loving feeling, loving affection for Krishna, and they were always eager, always wanting to engage in different types of service to the Lord. So that is that is the simple way. Actually, that is the only way. That is the only way by which we can attract Krishna. Therefore, we should pray to Krishna that we can be also developing this attraction for simply engaging ourselves in the service of the Lord. And it is that service of the Lord, or service to the Lord, that will defeat actually the attempts of Cupid. Cupid is the god of love, material love, in the material world. And as Prabhupada mentioned, even in the animal kingdom, although animals, they're not so attractive, but they find attraction on that level, sex attraction. Also, Prabhupada makes a very important point that Vedic culture, in the Vedic culture, therefore, we should not, how does Prabhupada put it? Yes. The complete science of Sanatana Dharma or Varnashrama Dharma. Interesting how Prabhupada more or less equates or compares Sanatana Dharma to Varnashrama Dharma. So the complete Sanatana Dharma or Varnashrama Dharma scheme forbids or restricts association with women. Forbids or restricts association with women. And that is why when Prabhupada was speaking about establishing Varnashram college, then Varnashram college, the question was being asked, is for women also? What was Prabhupada's reply? That Varnashram college is for men. Yeah. It means that in the Vedic culture, there is separate type of education. One education for women, one education for men. And not like in modern day society where we have co-education. Boys and girls, they study together. That is not Vedic standard. In modern day society, when boys and girls study together, they study themselves more than they study their subject matter. They are naturally attracted to one another, and so many complications are there. So this is the message this morning in the Bhagavatam that we, in the Vedic culture. And these principles, when we say Sanatana Dharma means these are eternal principles. The restriction that is meant to be there between male and female, between men and women, is not only applicable during the Vedic times, it is applicable today in the 21st century as well. And if we artificially try to avoid that, then we end up creating problems within communities or within society. I will read the text again. Although the queen's beautiful smiles and furtive glances were all spotless and exciting, and although they could conquer Cupid himself by making him give up his bow in frustration, and although even the tolerant Shiva could fall victim to them, they still, despite all their magical feats and attractions, they could not agitate the senses of the Lord. So, any questions on this? Yes.
Thank you very much, Mother. So, in the Vedic culture, what is female education is called what?
Huh?
Because the boys' education is Gurukul. So, ladies' education is called.
Okay, the question is, in the Vedic culture, the boys' education is Gurukul, so what do we call the girls' education? Actually, it is not only Gurukul that is the boys' education. A Gurukul is mainly, primarily for Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, but not as long period. Actually, the Dvijas, which means the twice born, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, are eligible for Gurukul education, and those who will stay longer will be the Brahmanas, then second will be Kshatriyas, and then the third, much less, is Vaishya. Of those three, actually, primarily of importance is the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas to go to Gurukul. So that is called formal education, which is that type of education where one studies specific books of knowledge that are prescribed, is for only a small percentage of society. The rest of the boys, they take up a different type of education that we call non-formal. Just like in Vrindavan, Krishna and Balaram, did they go to school in Vrindavan?
No.
They went to school,
Yeah.
but different kind of school.
Okay.
They went to what's called non-formal school. Their school, Prabhupada is telling that Krishna and Balaram, every day when they would go out, when they were like small boys, even younger than him, when they were maybe 7 years old, 7, 6, 7, they started to look after the small calves, the small calves. And Prabhupada is telling that their daily activity of looking after the small calves, this is Vedic education. This is also Vedic education. Now, for the girls, there's a different type of education, because in the Vedic culture, which is primarily a village culture, Vedic culture is an agrarian culture. Why it's agrarian culture means village? Because it's in the village that we have opportunity to practice and to follow what is called the ideal, perfect economic system, which is to actually look after cows and look after the land. Krishi Guraksha. That is the science of economics in the Vedic culture. That is the means and the way by which we can best meet all of our material necessities of life. We're not doing this today in modern day society. Therefore, we have deviated. We have deviated from what is meant to be the ideal Vedic economy. We have also deviated in terms of education, because the education for the vast majority of young boys is meant to be in connection with cows and land. Just like he's supposed to be a cowherd boy. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. Not only him, but young boys, most of the young boys, either they will be working with their father or their uncle, looking after cows or helping in agriculture, or things in relation to this village lifestyle. Not going to factory work, not going to industry and all this modern machine-based society. And and the girls, they're meant to receive primarily, because in the Vedic culture, young girls are meant to become wives and mothers. In the Vedic culture, it is enjoined that actually girls should marry, are meant to be married. The boys, most of the boys will also marry, but just like we hear, the acharyas and shastra also encourage young boys to remain brahmachari. If one can remain brahmachari, that is good, but it is not so easy. But still, one should receive brahmachari training. The young girls also receive education. Their education is especially connected with what is called the 64 arts and sciences. So we covered this in our Varnashram semester, isn't it? Bharatchandra Prabhu was giving a seminar on 64 arts and sciences, and we are meant to introduce those 64 arts and sciences, actually both for boys and girls. So many of the many of the subjects that young girls should be learning is connected with these 64 arts and sciences. And it's connected with how to become an ideal wife, how to become an ideal mother. Because that is, for the vast majority, not that they cannot also learn music or learn other, we find this in the different arts and sciences that are there. So this can more easily and can best be introduced again within a village culture. Why Krishna and Balaram perform their pastimes in Vrindavan? Vrindavan is village, small village, because that is the more simple, more natural way that is more conducive for actually developing our Krishna consciousness. This is mentioned by Grandfather Bhishmadev. I think I can pull up the, it's after chapter 8, so chapter 9. In chapter 9, yes, yes, very, very, very important instructions given. Okay, I found it. Should try to memorize 1:9:26. 1:9:26. 1:9:26. 1:9:26. Canto number 1, chapter 9, which is entitled The Passing Away of Bhishmadev. So, this is the text here, the translation of the text I'll read, and then I'll read just the first line of the purport, which is like a long line. Anyways, the translation. At Maharaj Yudhishthir's inquiry, Bhishmadev first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualifications. That means he spoke about Varna and Varnashrama. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. In the purport, Prabhupada writes as follows: the conception of 4 castes and 4 orders of life, that means Varna and Ashrama, as planned by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita 4:13. What is 4:13? Chatur Varnyam Maya Sristam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. Yes. Is to accelerate transcendental qualities of the individual person so that he may gradually realize his spiritual identity and thus act accordingly to get free from material bondage or conditional life. So very important. This system created by Krishna is to accelerate transcendental qualities of all of us. Yeah. When we agree to serve and to work within the system created by Krishna, Varnashrama, Daiva Varnashrama, this is meant to more quickly, accelerate means to more quickly, isn't it? Help us develop these transcendental qualities, or as Prabhupada would explain, to become Vaishnava. To more easily become Vaishnava, one should follow the system of Varna and Ashrama. So therefore, we need to understand what are the eternal principles of Varnashrama. So part of those eternal principles is that within Varnashrama, there is a thing called prescribed duties. The prescribed duties according to Varnashrama, according to Vedic culture, is that the majority of people are meant to be connected with and engaged in activities of agriculture. It is not my invention, it is there in the Shastra. We are meant to live this more simplified life, not this modern day demonic life, which is totally separating us and disqualifying us in so many ways because of this very point we're discussing this morning, because there is no restriction whatsoever between men and women, and everyone is considered equal, and therefore we have a very broken society. Family nucleus is broken, general society, and so we have a system of people are engaged in ugra karma, very proper translates, very ferocious activities, very destructive activities, and we have a society that is called Varna Sankara, totally undisciplined, totally disorganized, totally misdirected. And how can people be happy in that situation? So that is very much part of what we are trying to do within our society, as our acharyas have nicely explained, based on what is given in Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures, that there must be dharma, there must be the principles of dharma properly understood and properly followed. So gradually it's taking some time. It's taking some time because we're missing this aspect that the more simple and natural life is meant to be in connection with cows, land, and Krishna, knowledge, ultimate knowledge, Krishna. Yes? Yes? Okay. So we will end here for now. Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Gauda Pimanande.